Attention is the new currency of today. So if you want people to pay attention, then you have to give them something that's worth their attention. And today in this video, we are talking about how to capture attention and ultimately point that attention to Jesus. So now, as it relates to social media, why are we talking about attention? The thing that we have to understand is the social algorithms of today, it's all based on attention. It's based on watch time. It's how long is a user spending watching your video. Or if you put out a video or a piece of content, if they completely disregard it, what the algorithms now understand is like, okay, if this many people are disregarding this content, then it is not something of value, right? And we are not going to promote it. We're not going to push it out. So with that understanding, if we want to reach more people, we must come with value first. And that's why here we talk about this idea of not thinking of social media as a tool to just do marketing, but really positioning and reframing our mindset to seeing social media as a place to do outreach. And the number one thing about outreach is before you go and try to correct somebody, the first thing that you have to do is you have to aim to connect with them. Before you invite them to your service, tell them about Jesus, right? So we want to lead with value, and we want to provide so much value, not just information, right? I think social media today has really just been a bulletin board of all of our different events that are going on. So it's not just serving people with information, but it's also inspiration. It's also biblical literacy. It's adding value to their lives and in the season that they're in. And what happens is once you continue to add value over a time period, now people will start to follow you because you're adding value to their lives. When you add value to people, that's when they begin to share what you're doing. That's when they begin to post. And that's when you start to build a larger audience. So now as a church, how do you capture attention? I think the first way that you do it is you think about felt needs, right? What are people going through? What is your congregation walking through? What are some real stories? What are some real hardships? And I think as ministries as a whole, we have to do a better job of speaking into that space. We have the greatest message. We have the message of Jesus Christ, right? We have the greatest message, but yet when we look at our social media accounts, I think we're all guilty of just providing people with information. So the number one thing, the first thing is, how can we just add value, right? So here's how you do it. I think first you'll identify topics that people are struggling with, areas in life where people can move forward, where people can advance. So let's say, for example, in February, your church might be in a relationship series. That's a perfect opportunity to speak on relationships. Now, here's the formula for you to properly capture attention. How exactly do you capture attention? So first we said it's understanding that first you have to add value, right? And then now the next thing that you have to do is you have to understand how people use social media. When people use social media, they're not stopping, they're not just sipping a cup of coffee and they're analyzing every post. No, they're scrolling. They're scrolling. So for us to capture attention, we need to do something to stop the scroll, right? And the best way to stop the scroll is with the hook. The hook is the first sentence before the video starts. So let's say, for example, if our church is doing a series on relationships, and the hook could be something as simple as, if you are struggling in your relationships, watch this, right? Or let's say if it's a series on marriage, or let's say if you're talking to singles, it could be something as simple as, if you're before you get married, you need to do this, right? And the best thing about a hook is the more attention grabbing it can sound, like something along the lines of like, here's what's killing your marriage, right? Now, when we put this before the video, that person is then going to decide, do I want to watch that piece of content? So every single video that your church posts should in some way have a hook. So now from the hook, then you actually have the actual piece of content. So the actual piece of content is what's going to deliver the value. One quick tip. If you're posting videos on social media adding value, pastor, you don't need to introduce yourself, right? To be honest, most people don't really care who you are, right? They first care about the value that you're adding. So first, identify the value that you're going to provide, identify the hook, deliver the content. And then the next thing is you need to have a call to action. Every single video that you post should have a call to action. The call to action lets them know what is that next step that they're taking, right? So the call to action could be like, hey, come visit us in person for our next version of this where we're going to be learning about this topic. Some people, the more advanced people, will do something like send us a DM saying message, and we'll send you a link to the message, right? So the call to action can also be used to identify a unique way to engage with users. One great call to action is asking them to leave a comment about a question that they have about this subject, right? And we'll address it in the next video, right? So there are opportunities to get people engaged into your videos. So, okay, if you're thinking about posting content, you need to approach it with what is the value I'm going to add? Second, it's what is the hook? Third, what is the piece of content really? And then fourth, it's what is the call to action, right? I think those are the four main things as it relates to capturing attention. And remember, the goal of capturing attention is not to point them to our Sunday service, right? But it is to first point them to Jesus. It's to point them to the life-changing message of the gospel. And as we continue to add value to people, then what we'll see is that will result in more people sharing the piece of content. And then more people sharing that piece of content will be more people actually visiting your in-person or your online experience. So guys, we have a very big opportunity right now as it relates to social media. But again, we have to move from this idea of marketing and we have to step into this movement of outreach. Let's use social media to stop the scroll, capture attention, point that attention to Jesus so we can reach our city and we can fulfill the Great Commission. Thanks for watching.